Good morning, everyone. Grace and peace. Grace and peace. How are you Test, test. Can y'all hear me now? That's what I want to know. Type of one if y'all can hear me. Type of one if y'all can hear me. I'm not even muted. Test, test. All right, there we go. There we go. Go ahead and give myself a hand clap. There we go. All right, there we go. Man, see, I don't know what's. I don't know what be going on with StreamYard. Sometimes it seems like that it will kind of like change my settings. I already see a couple of things that have happened. Maybe some updates or something happened. So it seems like that it changed my mic settings. It was like it transitioned to some other mic that I haven't even used in a minute. But anyway, grace and peace, you guys. Grace and peace. So like I was saying before I was muted, or while I was muted, I would say, Byron Wheeler. Grace and peace, Byron. Byron, you are the, I think you're a Hebrew Israelite, right? Hebrew Israelite. Then we also have the first report up in the house, brother Joseph, Joseph Roberts, Elder Joseph Roberts. That's what we call him, or Elder Joe for short. Then we got Yehuda, grace and peace. Then we got, must be somebody new, Dirty Pat Walsh. Dirty Pat Walsh. Then we also got Sister Sheila Mahone, grace and peace, grace and peace. Horn and hand clap, another supporter. Then we also got Brother Slim. Man, Brother Slim been rocking with me for a minute. Then we also got Simon Phoenix. Listen, I remember when I first started doing these morning shows, I started noticing that a lot of my supporters be showing up. You know, they show up to the pre-recorded joints, not here at the live that I'm doing. So, like I was saying, while I was muted, I was saying that the reason why I'm live today is because I got the day off. I worked almost like 7 days straight last week. So they decided that, hey, you know what, Alton, you deserve a couple of days off. So I said, you know what? I think I should just go ahead and do a live morning show. All right, go ahead and just do the morning show, do it live, and that's how that's why we're here this morning. All right, but listen, as y'all come in, please hit that like button, notifications bell, especially for those who are new subscribers. If you haven't hit that notifications bell yet, go ahead and do that so you'll know when I'm live, so you don't miss the live and you don't miss whenever I drop content. All right. Uh-oh. She said that my sound effects are not on. Hold on, let me see something. Oh, you know what? Man, I'm tripping. Hold up. Hold up. Man, I don't know what is going on with StreamYard. Um, Let me see. Let me see something. Let me try to exit out of this, and then I'll bring it back up. Oh wait, hold on. Let me see. Exit out of that. All right, hold on 1 second. Did y'all hear that? Nope, you didn't hear it. I don't know what is going on with my. Hold on, let me see. I have no idea what's going on. I don't know. Hold up. Let me see. I don't know what's going on with this thing. I really do not know because I do not change my audio settings strictly for this reason. Uh, Let me see. It's like it's not even recognizing it. It's like it's not even recognizing my stream deck for some reason. Wavelength monitor microphone. Let me see. Let me try something else. I don't know. I don't know. We might have to look at this one right here. No, we're gonna get them sound effects right, but we ain't gonna spend all morning doing that because I got a couple things that I wanna talk about and I want to discuss, and I don't know. We might have to do it. We might. Let me say. She said you want us to go away and start over. Nah, I think it's all right. As long as you guys can hear me, I think that is it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right. But I don't know what is going on. I think in order for me to do this with the sound effects and all of that stuff, I would have to restart my computer, and I don't want to do all of that. Kind of don't want to do all of that. But anyway, let's just go ahead and get right into it. You know, I know, yeah, it was working. Yes, it was working great yesterday. It was working great, but you know, whatever. We just gonna keep the ball rolling. I'm gonna try not to hit the soundboard too much because it's showing up on my end, but for some reason, it is. I don't know what be happening with StreamYard. Hold on, let me see something. It's asking for an update. Let me see if the update is going to is gonna take effect. But anyway, let's get into it. Let's get into it. First, I don't know if you guys heard this, but I think we're gonna have to briefly. Hold on. We're gonna have to briefly break some news. All right. I don't know if you guys heard about this. This is hot off the press from last night. All right. I don't know what's going on with that either. But anyway, man, listen, there was an alleged shooting last night at the Israeli embassy. All right, there was like this shooting that happened, and I just saw this morning, where apparently somebody shot and killed two people at an Israeli embassy. And why isn't this popping up? I mean, it's just hold on. What is going on with StreamYard? StreamYard is bugging out this morning. There we go. All right, there we go. Yeah, Sheila says she heard about it. All right, so in a sense that it seemed like that it was a targeted shooting. So this is from the Christian Post, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just gonna read a couple of things, maybe like a couple of paragraphs, and just keep it moving. Hold on 1 second. And let's just keep that there. Sorry, this thing is updated. But yeah, it says 2 Israeli embassy staffers killed in targeted shooting. Suspect shouted, "Free, free Palestine." Yeah, she said in protest for Palestine. And this is my thing. You know, I think that sometimes people are just so they get so wrapped up in a lot of this political stuff, and I'm just like, hold up, What is going on with my computer? Hold on 1 second, y'all. All right, there we go. All right, my computer blacked out because of the update. Type of 1 if y'all can still hear me. Type of 1 if y'all can still hear me. Let me see. All right, cool. All right, seems like everybody can still hear me. All right, cool. Yeah, because my computer kind of blacked out. All right, hold on 1 second because this thing. Hold up 1 second. I'm trying to wait for this thing to finish updating. All right, as long as y'all can still hear me, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep it pushing if y'all can still hear me. All right, but anyway, the article reads: two Israeli embassy staff. All right, my bad. All right, so hold on 1 second. I think everything finished updated. It's like it just automatically muted me. All right, hold on 1 second. Let me see something. Uh, can y'all hear me now? Test. All right. I don't know what's going on with this thing. The first time, see this is why I don't do live morning shows. This is why I'd rather just go ahead and pre-record it and just keep it pushing, y'all. All right, hold up. Now this thing don't want to open up. But anyway, here we go. All right, let me start that over. All right, it says two Israeli embassy staffers were shot and killed Wednesday night outside the Jewish Capitol Museum in Washington, D.C. Law enforcement arrested a suspect shortly after the attack, which occurred during an event hosted by the American Jewish Committee. All right. So, I don't know. Let's continue to read this. Police say 30-year-old Elias Rodriguez from Chicago opened fire on a group of 4 people outside the museum, striking 2 of them fatally at close range. The Israeli embassy identified the victims as Yaron Lachinsky and Sarah Milgram, a young couple about to be engaged, according to the Times of Israel. Both victims died at the scene. Man, that is that's pretty sad. Speaking at a news conference, Israeli Ambassador Yakel later said one of the victims had purchased a ring earlier in the week and planned to propose in Jerusalem. The Israeli ambassador was not at the museum at the time of the shooting, according to embassy officials. That's sad. That's sad. This is why I always tell people, like, you got to be careful, and especially in this political climate, because it seems like that people will make a big to do about nothing. You know, the stuff that's happening over there in Israel and Palestine. I'm like, you guys don't understand. There is a lot of history between the conflict that's happening in that area. And you have to understand that before you start taking sides, you really got to dig deep and do research into why things are happening, because the Palestinians are saying one thing, the Israeli people are saying another thing, and it just seems like people are just taking both sides. This is why I made that video, or I did that live stream. This was like a few years ago, where Dr. Michael Brown, I had to critique him because he does a live stream and he talks about how Christian people are spiritually obligated to supporting Israel. And he's just like, there's like no question about it. Us as, Christians have to support Israel. And then he wrote this book called, and he wrote this book like quite a while back. And it is called, Our Hands Are Stained with Blood. Basically trying to point out all of the atrocities that have happened to the Jewish people at the hands of Christians. So he was putting this book out like, oh yeah, Christianity has a lot of has a lot of blood on its hands against the Jewish people and all of these things here. And I'm just like, but if you look at the way that the first century Jews treated Christians, I mean, putting Christians to death, at the hands of the secular government for following Christ. I'm like, what are we doing here? Yeah, granted that, when you look back through Christian history, there have been some atrocities done at people who claim to be Christians, or I would say by the Christian church. That's, we can admit that. We can talk about those things. But that doesn't mean that because some things happen, that Christians did some things to Jews back in the day, now that things are happening to the people in Israel, that now we somehow owe our allegiance to Israel. We don't. We owe our allegiance to Jesus Christ. So this is why, especially when it comes to political stuff, and I've kind of like moved away from that. I'll probably say around 2016, maybe like 2016, or maybe around 2018, 2019, I was kind of like into the political stuff, but I've since moved away from that because it just seems like that it just caused a lot of division. And there are some people that they sit back and they watch media all day. They watch the news, they're on social media, and then the way that social media does the algorithms, it's just going to keep feeding you stuff that you want to hear, that you want to see. So if you are pro-Palestine, it's going to keep feeding you all of the pro-Palestine videos, and then you're going to start seeing all of the interviews and the women and children who've been hurt and killed within the Israel-Palestine war, and all of that stuff. So what'll end up happening is that now people get emotionally driven, and then they want to go out and do something. Just like if you're pro-Israel, then you're going to end up getting, based on the algorithms, you're going to end up getting a lot of pro-Israel content. They're going to show you all of the women and children that's suffering over there in Israel. Oh, when they dropped the missile on us, this is what happened and all of that. So, I mean, we're just, there's no other way to say it, but we're just living in the end times. Remember we had that conversation not too long ago about eschatology, and we touched on the four major views on eschatology, like amillennialism, premillennialism, all of that stuff, and we talked about those things. But I do believe that we are we're living in the last days, and Christ himself warned us about it. The hearts of men is just growing darker and darker. The love of many will grow cold. And that's what we see, to where people, they'll let stuff that has nothing to do with them. Let's just be honest. We got a Hispanic guy going out to kill people who are Jewish, or trying to kill people who are Jewish in front of a Jewish museum because of what he's seen on television. So, but yeah, that is, basically it. I just wanted to kind of touch on that real quick, since that is kind of hot off the press. Jose Garcia says, what does your hat say? Listen, my hat says, make Lucaris great again. Cyril Lucaris. All right. So if you guys don't know who Cyril Lucaris is, I need you to go into my video selection. We talked about him. It did a whole live stream about Cyril Lucaris. And actually, this was inspired by James White. So James White was talking about Cyril Lucaris. and I can't remember who did the video first. Somebody did a video on Cyril Lucaris first, and I think that James White kind of touched on it. And I was like, let me look into this guy, Cyril Lucaris. And, James White pulled out this hat. And now this isn't the same exact hat that he has, but it's very similar. I made this hat myself based on a design that I saw that, James White had made and that he promoted inside of his video. I was like, that's a pretty cool hat. So yeah, it says make Lucaris. So it's like on this side, make Lucaris great again. Grace and peace to everybody that is showing up. Grace and peace, Sister Berean Babes. Then we got Doki Bible Club. Listen, I can't give the horn and the hand clap, the sound effects, because something is going on to where my computer is not recognizing. It's not recognizing my soundboard. It's not recognizing the Elgato system. So in order for me to do that, I would have to restart the computer, and I'm not doing all of that. I'm not doing all of that. We just gonna keep it moving, y'all. It's a sad day when I can't use my sound effects. Sheila Mahone says, did you hear about the fake prophet that has 30 plus victims from South Africa? No. I don't think I heard about that. I don't think I may want to cover that tomorrow morning. So I may I may do another live show tomorrow morning. I may do another live show and we'll talk about that. We will talk about that. Let me see what Robert says. It says you have to restart anyways after an update. Yeah. Oh, she said it's an essay, a sexual assault. No, I haven't heard about that. Haven't even heard about that. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised because I've heard about those types of things happening in a lot of countries abroad, third world countries. There was quite a few in Africa that I was reading articles about. And then there was some that was, I think like in some of these, I think it was some countries in South America that those things was happening as well. He says, did you hear about Global Impact Ministries? No, I haven't. Listen, y'all email me some of this stuff. All right. Y'all email me the stuff and I'm going to take a look at it. I'm definitely going to take a look at it. He says, she says spanning 5 states and 2 countries. Yeah, we definitely will have to take a look at that. Social Fire exposed Global Impact Ministries. I thought I did see something about Global Impact, but I didn't even look into it because I didn't really know what it was, but I did kind of see it pop up here and there on social media, but I didn't look into it. Speaking of social media, Joe Rogan. How many of you guys are familiar with podcaster Joe Rogan? All right. Yeah, Yehuda says that it's bad. I don't know. We may have to cover that tomorrow. We definitely may have to cover that tomorrow. Joe Rogan. All right. Apparently, Joe Rogan is attending church consistently. Christian apologist Wes Huff reveals. Now, Wes Huff was just on a podcast. He was on the Solar Media podcast, and I was watching that when I was coming back from Virginia. And they just dropped that. It was Wes Huff. It was what's the guy's name? Michael Kruger. And it was another guy. I can't remember the other guy's name, but they were talking about like the canon of scripture, the Bible, and all of that stuff. And they also had Wes Huff on. And Wes Huff was asked a question about Joe Rogan. They was asking, well, is Joe Rogan, do you still talk to him and how's he doing and all of that stuff? And he was just like, yeah, Joe Rogan's doing pretty good. He still kind of reaches out to Joe Rogan and talks to him periodically from time to time. He says that Joe Rogan is attending church regularly. All right. Now, if y'all don't know, Joe Rogan, he was like this really staunch atheist. I mean, like he was just like, I had a clip. I didn't even bring it up. There was a clip that I had taken maybe like a while back, and I posted it to my TikTok account where Joe Rogan was just dogging Christians. He was dogging the Bible and talking about, Jesus is made up and you got to be some type of a stupid person to follow Christianity and all of this stuff. But apparently he's now attending church on a regular basis, and all glory goes to God, just like you hear to say, y'all know if my soundboard was was working, I'll definitely be bringing out that B3. Hold on one second. Let me see something. Test. Can y'all hear me? Hold on. Let me see something. All right. Still can't hear it. Still can't hear it. Hold up. Sorry, muted myself. Can't hear nothing. Still can't hear nothing. Hold on. All right. But anyway. Yeah, so oh, here it is. Yehudi said, won't he do it? Yeah, and listen, all glory goes to God in that. All glory goes to God. I'm not going to read this whole article. I'm just going to maybe read a couple of paragraphs and then, because I want to kind of get into the main stuff. Wait, hold on. You said that you was able to hear me? Oh, I don't know. For some reason, yeah, some reason in StreamYard, it wasn't showing up. Like, because I could see like the little bars and stuff moving when I'm talking. But when I switched the settings, and I was talking, it wasn't showing anything. Joe Rogan, the nation's most prominent podcaster and frequent commenter on life's biggest questions, is consistently attending church, Christian apologist Wesley Huff has revealed. Listen, I don't care what y'all say about Wes Huff. Wes Huff is doing the Lord's work. All right? That man is doing the Lord's work. And if it wasn't for if it wasn't for that shellacking that he gave to Billy Carson, I mean, I don't know. But actually, when Wes Huff first started to become popular, I looked into his channel. I think at the time he may have only had maybe like 20 or 30,000 subscribers, and I think that was right at the time that people started to become familiar with who he was, and they started subscribing to him, and I actually subscribed to him as well. But he's been doing this, like he's been putting out content, and the stuff that he's popular for now. I mean, he was doing that years ago, So he goes out, he does the quote unquote debate with Billy Carson, and Joe Rogan sees it. Joe Rogan has him on, and now Joe Rogan is now attending church. And I mean, I want to say maybe from about 4 or 5 years ago, it seems like that Joe Rogan has done like a complete 180 to where he's just like, he don't believe in Jesus. He don't believe in the Bible. He think that it's all made up. He was sounding just like Billy Carson. And Joe Rogan had Billy Carson on his channel, and he was soaking up all of the stuff that Billy Carson was saying until Wes Huff came on there, and he was just like, so you telling me that everything that Billy Carson said was just total trash? He didn't say it like that. He said it in a more vulgar way, but he was just like, you mean to tell me that all of the stuff that Billy Carson told me was just it was just garbage? And it was like, yeah, basically. So now Joe Rogan, he's attending church, and I think that he said recently, correct me if I'm wrong, where he goes that he trusts more in Jesus than he trusts more in Jesus than he trusts in the Big Bang. So I'm like, it's a total 180. Now I'm looking at Edomite Raging Grace of Peace. He says, is Billy Carson a pastor of a church? Now I don't think so. I'm pretty sure that if he was a pastor of a church, most likely we would have heard about it by now. Oh, you better believe we would have been unheard about it by now. All right. All right. Let's continue. Let's continue. Let me see. Quote, I can tell you for a fact that he is attending a church and that has been that's a typo. I guess I think they meant to put he. I can tell you for a fact that he is attending a church and that he has been he has been okay, and that oh okay. They should have rewritten this. I'm gonna read it the way that it's written. I can tell you for a fact that he is attending a church and that has been a consistent thing. End quote. Huff, who is the Central Canada Director for Apologetics Canada, said during a recent appearance on Solar Media's podcast. Quote, know what you believe with Michael Horton, end quote. Huff, who joined Rogan's show, The Joe Rogan Experience, for a 3-hour discussion about Christianity and the Bible in January, said that, quote, Joe Rogan and I have had an on and off communication since then. I can tell you for a fact that he is attending church and that has been a consistent thing. And so, things are happening, he continued. He's a very inquisitive individual, and I think for the better, in that he's communicating with me and other people in his life who are influences that can speak into, these issues of reliability and trustworthiness and verse. I never heard of this word. What does that mean? Verisimilitude of something like the pages of scripture, and where he should and shouldn't be looking for the information in regards to that. And that's very important. That's very important that Wes Huff was basically letting him know, like, listen, don't go look into certain people like Billy Carson and a lot of these conspiracy theorists to get your information about the Bible. Like, don't go look into Zeitgeist and all of that stuff because, they're going to give you totally false information. Talk to somebody and deal with somebody who actually does this for a living and who actually studies these things out. Because just like earlier, what we were talking about, especially with the Israeli thing, it's so easy for people to put themselves into an echo chamber, especially with the way that media, and somebody mentioned AI earlier. AI is getting really good. It is getting so good right now to where I can't really tell AI from the real thing. And it's getting scary good. And I mean quickly. I'm not talking about, I can compare AI 10 years ago to AI today. I'm talking about within the past year or so. AI is getting, it's scary how fast that is moving, Sparuski Lady says, I hate AI. And here's the thing, man. It's kind of like a catch-22 thing for me because in some ways I like it, but in some ways I think that, it's really, in some ways I'm like, man, I don't know if we're moving in the right direction. Now, if AI was Christian based, if it was ran by Christians, in the hands of true Christians, I will say that. If it was in the hands of true Christians, I wouldn't be so worried. But did y'all know that there was a law that's being passed? And I kind of caught an interview where this one lady, she was online. I'm sorry, she's like a senator or something, and she was being interviewed. I think I caught a glimpse of what's the guy's name, Steven Crowder, and she was talking about how somebody had got some new video of her and waited about 3 years, and now they want to release it and to kind of like blackmail her or something like that. I didn't even watch the whole interview, but now I think that President Trump has signed into office to where people can be criminally prosecuted if they take some type of video or some type of image of you, like with no clothes on, and expose it on like social media or onto the interwebs. And he also put in the bill that even if somebody generate an AI image of you and put it out there on the web, they could be criminally prosecuted, because that actually happened to, I think it was like some high school students or something, where these boys took the face of a girl and put it on an AI image, of a nude AI image of a female, and it just started to circulate around the school and just totally embarrassed the girl. So now they're coming up with laws and stuff to prevent to prevent against that, you know. And just like people are saying, especially when it comes to like YouTube, and I'm looking at some of these shorts, and like I saw this one the other day where this guy was spotting a gorilla. Now this gorilla was like, like pumping iron, right? It's, working out, pumping iron, and it almost looks real. It almost looks real. Then there was another one where this guy, he reached down and picked up like a whole motorcycle, and he was holding the motorcycle over his head. Very real. Very real. So that AI stuff is getting kind of, it's getting scary. It's getting real scary. Don't know how we got onto that. Don't know how we got onto that when we talking about Joe Rogan and Wes Huff. All right. But anyway, let's get back to the article. I'm only going to read a little bit more of this, and we're going to get into some other stuff, because I do want to get into the main thing, because I got some videos that I got to play, and we're going to be starting and stopping it, and that's probably going to take us the longest. Huff said he's very encouraged by his communications with Rogan over the last few months, adding, quote, "We're seeing what I don't think is an exaggeration to say, somewhat of a resurgence in interest in these topics that we've been talking about, even the nitty gritty." So yeah, man, I'm glad that there is a resurgence and an interest in these topics, just like Wes Huff said, because some of us, we've been talking about some of this stuff for years. And, I ain't gonna lie, man, I used to be praying like, Lord, just put somebody with some sound theological teaching on some of these big platforms, instead of having Lecrae and Kirk Franklin and Mike Todd and a lot of these, really liberal leaning. I wouldn't even say liberal, but these are just like these soft, mamby-pamby type Christian leaders. I wouldn't even say Christian leaders, but people who, I don't know, it just seemed like that the people that they've been platforming over the past 20 years, a lot of these soft preachers, and like your Carl Lentzes and and that whole thing with him, Carl Lentz, and, you just have a lot of these guys like TD Jakes. They show up on Oprah and millions of people are watching them, and they think that that's what Christianity is. But it is refreshing to see that you do have a person such as Wes Huff, who is getting a lot of credit, and he is being platformed by a lot of these huge platforms, large YouTube channels and things of that nature, even the secular ones, because Joe Rogan, and I think Joe Rogan has like 19 million subscribers. I can't remember how many does the Flagrant podcast have, right? I think the Flagrant podcast has like millions of subscribers as well. And he's making his rounds. And it's just refreshing to see that, because I'm actually learning some stuff as well from guys like Wes Huff. Just like I said, they were on Solar Media the other day, and they were talking about the canon and all of that stuff. And I've kind of been aware of Michael J. Kruger for probably about the past 5 years or so. I've been familiar with his work, and now, with him being on Solar Media with Wes Huff, I'm like, man, it's just great to see that we do have a lot of people, or we're starting to see some people who are very, very serious about the faith. We're very serious about the faith, and people who can argue the faith intellectually. And that's the most important thing to me. People who can actually say, no, I studied this. This is what I do. I do this for a living. You know, I'm not just some guy who just started a popular podcast, or I just started a popular YouTube channel, you know, like Billy Carson. And I just get out here and just start talking. And they're just like, no, we do this for real. You know, so shout out to Wes Huff. And like I said, but, you know, but all glory goes to God. All glory goes to God in the highest. He is, all of this is the work of him. You know, and even Wes Huff says that it's not him, it's all God, God working through him. And this is what the work of the Lord looks like, you know, and he is reformed. All right. So y'all better be glad I ain't got the soundboard working, because that beat through will be going off right now. Tell you, man, see, us reformers, those who hold to reformed theology, we've been standing firm on our squares. We've been listen, we've been on the front lines for a minute. We've been on the front lines for a minute, all right? And we're gonna stay here. We're gonna stay on the front lines, we're gonna continue to stand on business, and we're gonna keep presenting the gospel in a theological and somewhat in a scholarly manner. All right. But no, but seriously, I don't think that. But I will say that it seems like that people who do hold to Reformed theology kind of have been dealing with these topics for a while that I know of. But it seems like that you do have quite a few people who are like even non-denominational, who are kind of moving into this realm of bringing out a lot of information from, I don't want to say scholarly, but more from like a historical standpoint, people who are really diving into the language, like for instance, you know, like cleave to antiquity. You know, I had him on my channel. He was on, and he's non-denominational. I thought that he was Reformed, but he's non-denominational, dealing with Roman Catholicism and Eastern Orthodoxy. And then you also have his humble servant. Shout out to his humble servant. He's non-denominational, and he's dealing with Roman Catholicism and Eastern Orthodoxy as well. And people are really examining this thing, you know, with a fine-tooth comb. You know, people are really examining these things, and you know, I think that it's in a way, I think that it's a great time for Christian apologetics. I really do. And just like I was having a conversation yesterday about the Trinity, and I was talking to Called Unto Holiness last night, and I'm not trying to, you know, blow shots at him, but, you know, just to kind of recap from the conversation that we were having last night concerning the Trinity. And his position was, because he's anti-Trinitarian, and he was basically saying that, well, I just read the Bible and whatever has been revealed to me, that's what I go with. So, you know, we're not going to talk about the church fathers. You know, we're not going to talk about church history. We're just going to, let me just read these scriptures to you. And I was trying to explain to him that the way that you're reading the scriptures, these are the same way that people who are deemed heretics for good reason, this is the same way that they read the scriptures. But the early church fathers who were trying to defend the concept of the Trinity, the concept of the Godhead, and ultimately the divinity of Christ, because that's basically what the early Trinitarian arguments, or the early arguments for the Trinity, were about. They were about defending the divinity of Christ. So guys like Brother Slim, and you know, shout out to Brother Slim. He was, and he did send some things inside of the chat that I am going to look into, but he was kind of touching on some history about like the Trinity and stuff like that. Although it seems like that some of the information that he was saying was kind of wrong, inaccurate, because he was saying that the term Trinity didn't pop up until like the 1800s or something. But once we get into the church history part of our discussion about the Trinity, I'll show you guys where that's actually inaccurate. It was actually brought up by Tertullian. But anyway, specifically Called Unto Holiness was just kind of pleading this case, saying that, hey, you know, I'm just reading the scriptures, and this is the interpretation that I came to. And I'm like, historically, that has been learned. That has been, I'm sorry, third century. Yes, Robert. Yes, yeah, around the second or third century. But I was telling Called Unto Holiness and Brother Slam to a certain degree that the idea that they were purporting is called Sabellianism, and we dealt with that, in early church history. Like, what you're explaining about how you understand the Godhead or how you understand the Trinity and why you're totally against it, that is called Sabellianism. And Calling Holiness was like, no, I don't know what that is. I don't know what modalism is. I don't know what Sabellianism is and all of this stuff. And I'm just like, you're really going to have to study this stuff, because just saying that I just read the scriptures and this is the conclusion that I come to, you got people who's actually looking to this stuff and they're examining this. And now, again, going back to AI, you go back to AI and AI is giving you answers quickly. Like right now, I can pull up Grok and I can ask them, I'm going to show you how AI is working nowadays. All right. And I'm turning to Grok now. Grok really has been able to give me a whole bunch of answers quickly. And I'm like, see, that's why I'm like, I'm not willing to throw AI in the trash. I'm not willing to throw it completely in the trash, because I do use it. All right, now watch this. What is Sabellianism?
Sabellianism is an early Christian belief that the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are different modes or aspects of one God, not distinct persons, which was declared a heresy. It was taught by Sabellius in the 3rd century.
Yeah. So, I mean, just a quick explanation, based on Grok. You see what I'm saying? And then from there, and you can keep asking Grok questions, and you can go, and you can say, okay, well, who else held this view? And Grok will continue to keep going down. It'll keep answering you, and the first time I heard about Grok was from James White. So James White was talking about Grok, and I'm like, what is that? And I looked into it myself, and it's actually, if you got X, there's like a little symbol. You can hit that symbol and you can start asking Grok questions and all that, and it'll answer you. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I think that AI is good for technology. But again, when you have technology like this, and you start to explain what you believe about the Trinity or the divinity of Christ, and you ask AI, hey, who held the view that God was, or I'm sorry, Jesus was the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit all in one. And AI will give you an answer within seconds. So just turning around and just saying that, well, I just read the Bible. It's just me, my Bible, and Jesus up under a tree. And I'm just going to wait for the Holy Spirit to reveal to me what he's trying to say within his word. Those days are coming to an end. They're coming to an end. Not with all of this technology and resources that we got. You're not going to be able to defend those positions. So that's why I always implore those who are following Christ. If you really are trying to follow Christ, I mean, it would behoove you to really look into church history and to really, parse these things out, So anyway, that's all I got to say about that. But, once again, shout out to Wes Huff and, the work that he is doing for the Lord, because I do believe that Wes Huff is really doing the Lord's work. But this is what I wanted to get into right here. Speaking of Roman Catholicism and Orthodoxy, I watched this yesterday. There was a video that Trent Horn did about 3 years ago. I'm sorry, not 3 years ago, 3 days ago. He was talking to Redeemed Zoomer. And the title of it is Can Protestantism be redeemed? All right. And I watched this whole thing. Very interesting conversation between him and Redeem Zoomer, but of course we're not gonna listen to the whole thing because it is about an hour long, and I'm not gonna take 2 hours trying to go through every jot and tittle of this video, but I do want to go through at least the first part of it because I think that is where the most interesting part of the conversation happens. It's within the first part of this. Oh, you know what? Uh-oh. I don't think I'll be able to do this. Because if my stream deck isn't working, this is not going to play. Hold up. I just thought about that. Hold on 1 second. Let me see something. I'm going to mute myself. I'm going to see if it's going to play. Yeah, see, that's not playing. Hold up. Okay. Dang it. All right. I think I'm going to have to. I really want to play this. I really want to play this. Yeah. I'm going to have to restart my computer. I'm really going to have to restart my computer. But here's the thing. While I'm restarting my computer, see, I can go live, or I can enter from my phone. All right. I can enter from my phone and I'll engage you guys. Yeah. Hold up. Yeah. So anyway, I can engage you guys. Hold on 1 second. Yeah. So I can engage you guys from the phone, and I'll do that while the phone is restarting. All right. So let me see. Yeah, Sheila says she's gonna go back to bed, but yeah, Sheila, you can go ahead and go on back to bed. And once you go on back to bed, you can catch the replay. All right, you can catch the replay. All right, so listen, let me restart my computer. Can I bring myself on from here? All right, there we go. All right. Wait, hold up. This is one of the most jankiest live streams I've ever done. Let me see. Oh, my bad. I gotta. All right, all right, all right, all right. All right, so y'all can see me. All right, so let me go ahead and I am going to restart. Let me restart my computer. All right, gotta restart my computer because I really, really want to play this video from uh Trent Horn. Okay. So this is what happens when you try to go live early in the morning. That's why I don't like doing morning live streams. See, by the afternoon, I can have all of this worked out. Hold on 1 second. Okay, I want to see what my chat. I'm trying to look for the chat. Oh, here it is right here. Here it is right here. Yeah. Okay, now why is this showing? Hey, yo, I swear I'm an unk for real. I'm in unk mode for real. I'm trying to figure out this technology. Um, Man, yeah. Yeah, Spruski Lady says, yeah, StreamYard updated, gotta close it and reopen it. And the thing is, I usually check all of this stuff out before I go live, but for some reason, I mean, I just turned on my computer and I think I was just so busy with trying to set up the live. And that's the thing, I don't really know um if I'm gonna have any glitches or problems until I go live and you guys are just like, well, I can't hear, or I can't see anything. It's like I don't know that until I hit the live button. But mm, but we gonna get it together, y'all. We gonna work it out. Brothers gonna work this out. We gonna work it out, y'all. So yeah, I definitely want to get into this conversation with Trent Horn and Redeem Zoomer. Because Redeem Zoomer, I don't know, man. He was saying some things that was kind of shaky. And I don't know if he's starting to lean more Roman Catholic, or if he's going to end up being Orthodox or something. But I know that he's Presbyterian. And spoiler alert, Gavin Ortland did a response video uh, to this conversation. He did a response video yesterday, and Gavin Ortland did a very good job. I mean, he did a really great job, especially a way better job than what I'm about to do. Talking about this whole Trent Horn and Redeem Zoomer conversation. All right, so I got the computer restarted, and I am just waiting for everything to continue to reboot, and then I'll bring myself back in. All right, so that's going on. I got that page back up. I'm waiting on Google. Google's supposed to, I don't know. I'm just gonna have to do it like this. Try to put myself back in on StreamYard. Excuse me. Your studio. Oh, hold on. Hold on 1 second. Hopefully my camera pops back on. If not, then I think I'm gonna have to go and turn it back on from OBS. There we go. Yahtzee. All right, so we back. All right, so let's go ahead. Let me see my settings first. Let me check my audio. Huh. Let me see something. Um, all right, hold up. Test, test. Nope, it's still not working. I don't know what's going on with my I don't know what's going on with this. Let me see. Patience, marketing, Elgato. All right, let me see. Test, test. All right, so y'all can hear me, but for some reason my stream deck is not. It's not coming in. You know what? This is so frustrating. I think you know what. I think what I'm gonna have to do. I don't know, man. I might just go ahead and kill the stream. I think I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm gonna kill this stream, and I am going to. I'm gonna try to see what's going on with my computer, and maybe I can come back and do the rest of the stream. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to kill the stream, and I will. I don't know. I'll come back in a little bit because I do want to talk about that whole thing with Redeemed Zoomer and Trent Horn. All right. So listen, I'll see y'all hopefully within the next 20 to 30 minutes. Now breakfast is ready downstairs. It might be a couple of hours. It might be a couple of hours if breakfast is ready. But yeah, I'm gonna come back on. Yeah, I'm gonna come back on. Let me try to work some of this stuff out because I don't know what's happening with this. StreamYard is acting crazy. It's like it's not recognizing my stream deck. Hold on one second. Let me try one more thing. Let me try one more thing before I do that. Let me see something. That's the mic. That's that. And this is my stream deck. Hold up. Hold on one second. You know what? Even if I do get this to go right, I think I'm still gonna hop off and come back on. Hold on, let me see something. Hold up. Test. All right. So I'm gonna see if it. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. All right. Listen. Give me a few minutes. Well, more than a few minutes. I'm gonna try to straighten this stuff out, and then I'll hop right back on, and then we'll get back into the stream, and we're gonna be talking about Trent Horn and his dialogue with Redeemed Zoomer, and we're gonna be focusing on that Pope. All right. Now, y'all sent me some stuff about Pope Leo saying that Mary was God. So we're going to be talking about that. We definitely got to talk about that. All right, listen. Give me a few minutes. I'm going to end this, and we are going to be right back. Peace. For